it just felt like home. It just felt like, oh, this is where I should be. I shouldn't be there. I should be here because this is exactly what feels like home to me. And so I remember thinking, oh my God, this feels amazing. This is incredible. Like, why would you ever want to leave this place? It's beautiful.
I'm very happy to be with Natasha Black today. Natasha, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you and learn about your near death experience. You were just a little baby, practically, just 7 years old, and you had asthma, and this near death experience came upon you and made you question everything. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I was in my cousin's place. So we were living in Sydney at the time. And I had been born with asthma. So it was very familiar to me that I had to take my asthma puffer everywhere. And this day I did not. I had forgotten. Obviously, my parents had forgotten too. They probably assumed that I had brought mine. And, because I was very responsible with it at that age. I was very used to it. So it was just an oversight, just a human error. And I was playing in the backyard. So they lived in quite a bushy place. And I was allergic to a lot of pollens. And I guess it was that time of year that a lot of that was happening. So yeah, I started to get an asthma attack. We were, playing basketball down in the backyard. And I came upstairs and, was looking for my puffer to give me a little bit of relief. And I couldn't find it. And, one thing led to another where all of a sudden we're all looking all around the house, in the car, seeing if it's fallen under the seat and all of those kinds of things. And we couldn't find it. So naturally, if anyone knows and is familiar with asthma, once you start panicking, it becomes a little bit, it escalates. And so, the anxiety starts to build and you start to worry about what's happening. And okay, now I can't breathe. Now I can't breathe even more because I can't find my puffer. So the panic is not good for it. But anyway, that's how it was. And so we were looking frantically and couldn't find any. And my cousins didn't grow up with asthma, but I remember my auntie saying, oh, let's just look around the house just in case for some reason someone has a puffer somewhere. And so no one did. And I remember at the time there was discussions happening. Should we go to the hospital? What's the appropriate time to go to the hospital? How far away is it? While everyone's still looking, we're, having those discussions, or the parents were. And so then we make the decision to go to the hospital, and I think it was about half an hour away. And, uh, I guess in hindsight, we probably should have called an ambulance, but I think, and I would have to uncover this detail with my parents, maybe it would have taken the ambulance that long anyway to get there. So I don't know what the actual decision process was there. But, my parents were obviously wanting to get me help as soon as possible. And so we chose to go there. My uncle said, I'll drive first because I know the way. And so he led the way to the hospital, and me and my dad were following in the car behind. And so, they were speeding. They were speeding. I remember that. It was very fast in the car, and we were just going, going crazy. Thankfully, the roads were not busy. And yeah, I just remember that panic feeling of, okay, we've got to get there quick. There's something happening. And so on the way, I started feeling very sleepy. And I was saying to my dad, oh, I just need to, put my head down for a bit. I'm feeling very sleepy. And I remember him saying, no, don't put your head down. Stay awake, stay awake. And by that stage, his voice felt extremely far away. So I was already starting to kind of come out, I think. And so I just remember him yelling at the top of his voice. I knew he was yelling, but it wasn't loud in my ear. It felt quite distant. And he was saying, "Stay awake, stay awake." And so that was happening. And yeah, I just remember feeling so tired, and I just wanted to rest because I'd been laboring the breath for quite a while, and it's very tiring. And so yeah, I put my head down. I just couldn't fight it any longer. And then apparently, I don't remember anything after that consciously. And then my dad said that my eyes rolled back into my head and I started foaming at the mouth. So he knew, okay, this is very serious. Well, he already knew it was serious, but another level. So very close to where we were at that time, there was a correction facility. And so my dad pulled in, he swerved and pulled into this correctional facility or detention center. And they were all in the yard at this time. And he just went up to he pulled the car right up to the gate and parked up on the gutter, got out of the car and went up to the gate and said, "Does anybody know CPR?" So one of the inmates there, he said, "I know CPR." So he was then allowed to help us until they called the ambulance to get there. And he had permission to do that and supervision as he was doing that. So he was just basically keeping me alive until the ambulance came. And then the ambulance came, and then it was all systems go. Then they had the defib out inside the ambulance, trying to revive me all the way to the hospital. So then the next thing that I remember was that I had lifted above my body, and I could see at the top looking down that everyone was working on my body in this operating room. So all the doctors and the nurses, there's probably about 10 or so. I remember the panic feeling. I remember everyone frantically trying to bring me back. And it was just all happening, but it was like I was watching, and I wasn't attached to the body, but that was me. I wasn't attached to the motions or anything that was going on. It was just, I knew it was me. It was just like watching a movie. And so yeah, so that was a part of it there. And if I skip to the actual experience that I had as I was crossing over, was that I remember that I was walking down this pathway. So it was the pathway down from my cousin's garden. And as I was walking down this path, I could see like this tiny little pin of light. And I was walking down this path, but on either side of the path, there were these demons or these yeah, just demonic entities, I guess, trying to grab at me on the way down this path. And it was like, if you play tag and you're kind of, trying to escape them like that. So no one actually got me, but they were really trying. And I remember as I was going further down the path, they were becoming further away. So then I just walked into the light, and the light was getting bigger. And I remember walking through that light. And then all of a sudden I was in this place of just pure unconditional love. And I know that a lot of other people talk about that experience. It is that feeling of everything and nothing at the same time, like this void space, but it's very loving, and it just felt like home. So
Did you have any fear specifically when you were walking past these demon like figures?
yeah, it was really scary to me. And to this day, I still don't know what that was. I have listened to stories where people have mentioned that maybe if they had this kind of a frame of mind, then, or reference, then that's what they experienced. I wonder, because I had grown up in a Christian household, I wonder if I maybe thought that I was going to hell or a place that I don't know, but it was scary. I remember feeling, oh, these are horrible and I just need to escape. And it was, yeah, it was extremely scary. So, yeah, I'm not sure what that was. I do have plans, and it's been a process over the last few years to uncover certain pieces of information at a time. So each time I have to go into hypno sessions and uncover. So I've really only just started doing that the last few years properly. So yeah, but it definitely was scary.
And then you got to this big light. And so what happened when did you enter the light?
Yes, I did. So I entered the light. It just felt like a natural process of me going into that light. And so then I was in this light space, and it just felt like home. It just felt like, oh, this is where I should be. I shouldn't be there. I should be here because this is exactly what feels like home to me. And so I remember thinking, oh my God, this feels amazing. This is incredible. Like, why would you ever want to leave this place? It's beautiful. And it just feels incredible. And I remember the feeling of it being everything existing, but nothing existing at the same time. Like there was no form to anything, but everything existed. So it's a kind of funny thing to try and describe, but hopefully with podcasts like yours, you know, we can all put the pieces of the puzzle together of what this is. So, and I remember saying, I do not want to go back, you know, because I wasn't attached to my family. I wasn't attached to anything like that. You don't get those feelings so much. Well, at least not in my experience. So I was saying, I don't want to go back. This is amazing. And I remember these voices saying to me, you have to go back because you aren't finished yet. You have work still here to do. There's things that you have to do here, and you're going to help a lot of people. And I remember pushing back once and saying, no, I don't want to go back. Like, I want to stay here. But they said, no, you have a mission, you have things to do here, and you're going to help a lot of people. So then from that point, I remember that was the last thing. But even during that process, I remember still having a choice. So it wasn't like I was being told. It was more of an encouragement, I think. And maybe because I heard the foresight of what my life was going to look like in the way of helping people. Because when I was very young, I used to say, I just want to help people. I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I'm going to be a doctor or a nurse, but I just want to help a lot of people. So it was almost like a encouragement, or you know, you do have something important to do here. So then it made me willingly want to come back and help. So that was it. Then the next thing I remember, I was back in my body, and I was in the hospital. And I remember being in the hospital and just looking. I think it was about 3 days that they were saying that I wasn't responsive. I remember seeing through my eyes, and I remember things happening around me and people asking me questions, but I couldn't respond. And it was just like I wanted to say things and I wanted to express myself or answer them, but I couldn't. It was not registering. And so even then they were saying she may have brain damage for the rest of her life. We're not really sure because she was, you know, she had passed over for a little while, so it could have affected the oxygen to the brain and long term. So yeah, and then that was it. After about 3 days, and I just came to, and there was one part where I was saying to my dad, talking to him about a conversation that he had had with a doctor in the hallway. So as they were working on my body, he was having a conversation in the hallway with the doctor, and the doctor was saying, we don't think she's going to make it. So word for word, I replayed that conversation and told him the details of that conversation. And my dad is super skeptical. Uh, and he was like, I don't have any explanation for what happened. I don't know how you could have known exactly what was said there. So yeah, that was an experience too. But I do remember being above that conversation vaguely and hearing the discussion. It was just like, again, just like watching a movie, and you can hear, your hearing is very heightened, and all your senses are very heightened, and you can tap into anything. It's, yeah.
That is so validating that you heard that conversation and you were able to confirm with another person that that actual conversation happened. I mean, how can you dispute that your experience was real after something like that?
Exactly. And I've had a number of mystical experiences where podcasts like yours really helps people put pieces of the puzzle together. It's so helpful, probably beyond what you think, but it really helps process information. And, I've come from, I guess, a relatively skeptical mind, not fully closed, but I want to know that it's real, before I go in and believe something. So things like this, hearing interviews like this, it is very validating and it's very helpful actually. So thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you because I, like you, I am a skeptic as well. And I want to know something is true before I just dive in and start believing something. And sometimes things do not resonate with me and I don't believe it just because someone says it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm very critical about what I believe in my mind. So thank
Yeah, me
you because
too.
your story is validating with that
Mm.
just for that experience of the conversation. Um, and I also find it wonderful that you came back because you wanted to be in service to others, or and it was actually kind of like your near death experience that was going to be the catalyst for your service to others. It was kind of like a, synchronicity almost.
I really feel passionate about helping people understand that this is not the end, because I know there's so much fear around death. And I really love this conversation. And I have had conversations with friends that have lost loved ones. And it's almost like you ignite some kind of hope for them to know that the other person that's crossed over is not suffering. They're actually in peace. And so it's very validating to them. It helps them with the grieving process. So I love this conversation. I think it's very important, actually. And I'm very much into ancient wisdom and knowledge and all of that kind of stuff. They were not scared of death. It was actually like an initiation process. And it was an understanding that when you move through this realm, there's more, there's more to access. And yeah, it was like an initiation process. So there's something in me that really loves sharing a reframe around what we think death is.
You say it kind of like initiation process. So did you change your beliefs, the beliefs that you had prior to this experience versus after? And if you did, was it something that kind of happened all of a sudden, or did it take some time to unfold for you?
Bit of both. So I definitely came out of the experience having pages of questions for the religion that I was brought up in. I love the foundation and the basis of Christianity. I think there's a lot in it that is beautiful, and there's a lot of truth to the books that are read. I do believe, from the things that I've studied, that it has been changed or misinterpreted. And I think that if we had the original version, humanity would be so much more sovereign and empowered than we are now. There's a lot of hidden codes and secrets in that. So anyway, I came out asking a lot of questions. And for anyone that's grown up in that kind of environment, those questions, it's not that my parents discouraged it. I genuinely think that people don't have the answers for the questions that I was asking. They're very deep questions. And some of them, though, I think it's just a case of, in some religious institutions, and when I say religious, I even mean political and scientific, we are not taught to critically think. And so I think just that alone, if we were taught how to critically think, we would probably uncover a lot of answers, or come to the truth a lot more. So I was on this process of asking questions like, if it talks about judgment, why are we judging certain people? If it talks about unconditional love, why are we going on this path of trying to earn our right to heaven or earn our place? There was just so many questions like that for a 7-year old. It was quite profound to just ask these questions. And again, I don't blame anyone, because I don't think that anyone had those answers or wanted to question things. And it, it's not very encouraged to ask so many questions. It's more encouraged to just have faith. But for me, I was like, well, I can't have faith if my questions aren't answered. I need to, that part of my skeptical brain, which I think is healthy at times, it needed something to help me understand and to help give that faith that I was looking for. And so we still continued, excuse me, to go to church for a number of years, and then we did stop. And then we kind of all went our own ways. And I I have spent a long time discovering what feels true for me. And I did go down the energy. I studied massage and went down the energy, natural therapies, read the Celestine Prophecy. That was the very first book that I read that really opened my eyes to things. And a lot of what was talked about really made sense to me. It was just like, oh, this clicks. Something just feels right about it. I feel connected from this information. And that's what I was looking for my whole life. Was I want that connection that people are talking about. I want that connection to God. I can't get it. I don't know how to get it, but everyone's talking about this and that. I don't feel that in that way. So I went down that. I have no idea why I moved away from that, but I did. I don't know what happened. Maybe I went into party mode, which is probably the case. I was, 19, 20, and, doing the usual party things. And then I went overseas. So I was a flight attendant for Emirates. And I went overseas to live for 6 years, and I had a group of friends that were Christian, and they used to go to church every week. It was a slightly different strand than the one that I had been brought up with. So it was a lot more free. It didn't have as many rules. So I quite liked it. And I thought, I need to go into this as an adult to see if there's anything here for me. I need to know for myself if there's something here for me again. So it was like a second try. And I went, and the people were beautiful, and it was definitely a lot more freedom. It was a little bit more liberal than what I was used to growing up with. And yeah, after a few months, again, maybe even 6 months, I started having the same questions pop up. And again, no one could answer them. And I was just like, guys, like, this is what I was thinking in my head. If I'm going to commit to this, which I was willing to do, I need something. I need that stuff that's going to, I just need to have these questions answered so that I can believe fully and commit to it. And so I moved away from it because, yeah, no one had the answers and explanations for what I would say now is quite simple um, understandings just from uncovering information from ancient wisdom that I've been studying, and I've studied lots of different cultures and religious teachings, not deeply, but I have touched and learned a little bit of a lot, and just found truth in a lot of different ways. And so, yeah, here we are now. I'm on a path. I don't really call myself anything. I'm not in a box of belief. I don't even like, I don't like any boxes. It's just, I just find a piece of truth here, a piece of truth there, and I just go on my own journey and figure out what it feels like to me. But to me, spirituality is just connecting with yourself and all that you are. And however you find that is perfect for you. But for me, it was definitely not in the religious path that I had grown up in.
I love the way that you describe not not that you didn't resonate with Christianity, but it was more like the dogma and the unanswered questions and the just being told to have faith and believe, don't question things, just believe it. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on right now. People are starting to wake up and they want some more answers. They're seeing that there might be some discrepancies in some of the things that we're told as we're growing up. And so I love that you are on the same page. It seems like the whole world almost is going through this like transition where we're starting to question and we want more than what we've just been told, and we want to have these personal experiences. And so I appreciate that you're out there and you're helping people because you've been on the other side. You've seen what it's like, you felt what it felt like. And you were talking about there's like these hidden codes and secrets. Tell me more about that.
The hidden codes and secrets leads us back to who we truly are. And so the codes within the phrases that are used and I would say just the hidden meanings behind the verses that are used are misinterpreted in a way that is used now to some of it to incite fear, but the hidden codes, and I know there's more to this. There are amazing professionals out there that really talk about the real codes, the gematria and all of that kind of stuff, which is incredible. But learning some of that has helped me understand to know thyself more. And that's my whole path is I just want to know thyself. I understand now what they're talking about, but on my awakening journey through spiritual understanding, many verses of the Bible have popped into my mind at specific times where I've been reading an ancient text or diving into another topic. And this verse will pop into my mind and I'll go, that's what that means. And then it unlocks something within you, this empowerment and this sovereignty that is like a key. And so it's very powerful, actually. And yeah, it's just extremely powerful. And I know in time that it will be interpreted in the right way. And like you said, there are a lot of people waking up and asking questions, and it is fantastic. And I even think it's important in the spiritual community. I talk about dogma a lot in this community about how there's rules, there's ways of doing things, it's the diets, it's the way you meditate, it's these practices, dogmatic things that kind of keep us from truly knowing the self. So yeah, I'm very passionate about dogma and having being put in boxes because we can't truly know the self if we are looking at, oh, how do we get there? How do we ascend? How do we get to heaven? It's the same conversation, actually. It's just framed in a slightly different way. So, yeah, there's the Bible and other ancient texts are very empowering texts. if they are interpreted in the correct and original form.
Yes, I agree with that so much. And I love that you point out that even in the spiritual community, there's so much dogma and putting your belief systems back into a box. You're moving them from one box to another box. And, when you talk about, people talk about, oh, you shouldn't wear makeup, that's not truthful. And, oh, you shouldn't want to have a nice car, remove your desires for nice things. And that doesn't always mean spirituality, in my opinion. What do you think about things like that?
Oh, I love that you brought this up. I love any of these discussions that just rock the dogma and rock the boxes, because we need to live outside the boxes. It's time for that now. We're on this journey collectively of self-seeking, and we have access to so much information. So it's like the world is your oyster. There's so much information out there to empower ourselves. So, yes, I love that you said that. I love wearing makeup. I love wearing nice things. I love having nice things. I love having nice experiences. I love having a glass of alcohol. I love I love wearing makeup. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it's all these things. I'm not vegan. I do enjoy red meat and I try and buy ethically, but I enjoy the things that I enjoy and I like the things that I like. And something that I learned actually in the Christian community was about removing it. It actually took me a very long time to remove the programming of guilt and shame and fear. And so I could see this happening in the spiritual community as well around certain things. And I'm like, I'm done with the guilt and the shame. I'm here having a human experience and I'm going to enjoy it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to enjoy. I'm here to play. I'm also here to serve and be divinity, as all of us are. But I'm here to have fun. I'm not here to be too serious and play into these boxes. It just, yeah, it goes against everything that I am inside. I'm a natural rebel. And I think I was born that way, to ask questions for a reason. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that.
What are some of the things that you do to help others? I know you're passionate about people knowing themselves, and I wear this ring. It says, I don't know, you can't read it, but I've worn it for many, many years, and it says know thyself. And I wear it on
Mm,
a very uncomfortable place in my hand because it makes me think about it. I'll remember every time it's uncomfortable, oh, know myself, and it's a reminder to be present, kind of. And you're passionate about that. So, what are some of the things that you do to help others know who they are?
I love that. I love that so much. And just, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I'm honoring that space in you that is just very present with that, because it's so powerful. Um, I One of the biggest things is I want people to question things and question what I say, question what the guru that you listen to on the internet says. That's one of the biggest things we can do right now. And building discernment, like this is foundation in my teachings, or, how I help people, is questioning and using discernment, building your intuition, because one of the things that we're up against now is there's information wars happening. And I channeled this not long ago. There's all this information that's coming to us from all different directions. And we have to be so mindful and present and discerning of what information we're actually taking on board. A lot of the things that I talk about in this community is going down rabbit holes of conspiracies. And I'm not saying that I'm closed to those things being true. I'm also not saying that all of those things are true, but going into information that's actually going to empower you. If we're going down these theories and ideas and watching even alternative media, sometimes that's very fear driven as well. And it has its place in sharing messages and shedding light on situations that we need to be woken up to. But I've seen this community time and time again get stuck in these realms of what's the truth, and then you will see they're getting angry, they're getting frustrated, they're feeling hopeless, they're feeling victimized by the world around us. And that's not our natural state. Our natural state is sovereignty. And so one part about knowing the self is knowing that you are sovereign, and that happens through solitude and refinement of your mental processes, your emotional alchemy and spiritual practices, however that looks to you. So that's huge. Another foundation of what I do is helping people have compassion and true unconditional love to others, and even to the people that hurt you. And in fact, they are the people that need it the most. And they're the people that were potentially not shown another way. So we are the leaders in that space to show them there is another way. You don't have to act from your hurts and your trauma. There is another way to operate. And so helping people see through the eyes of the heart, I talk about, and hearing through the ears of the heart, and just really opening up that space within us. That, if everybody did that today, the world would be a completely different place. And it would just shift overnight. You know, there's so many situations that even in your personal life where we may judge someone else, and I'm not condoning behaviors that are not healthy. There's lots of things that happen that we shouldn't condone, but it's also, there's a place for us to help heal this consciousness by seeing through compassion and unconditional love and giving people what they never received. Just a slight detour. I love watching prison reform programs where they really are in service to these trauma survivors, I'll call them, because no baby comes into this world wanting to do those things. They have learned behaviors and they have learned to come away from who they truly are. So I love watching prison reform because I think that's that's one of the ways that we are going to reform society and heal this kind of consciousness. So these are kind of foundations. There's many more, but I help people through. So I do massage, I do spiritual and energy healing, and then mentorship as well. And I do soul Akashic readings, so helping people unlock past gifts and understandings of who they were in a past life, or just within information that they have dormant within that they need to uncover to help humanity. I don't necessarily think that it's important to go into past lives. I think it can be helpful, but I don't think it's necessary. So it's just, I help people in that way too. It's just really a way to help them uncover gifts that's lying dormant within. And then yeah, I love doing what I do. I've seen my own life transform through the things that I talk about. And that's one thing that I'm also passionate about and believe in wholeheartedly, is teaching the things that I have moved through myself. I don't read a lot of the same books that the main community read just to read it. I have if I have read it, I have taught it, and I teach it, it's because I've experienced it myself. And I think from that place, you're serving with integrity. And, because we have people's consciousness in our hands. So there's such a divine responsibility to serve in a very authentic and real way. I don't think it's happening enough, actually. I think it's taken very lightly with what we do in this community, and I know there's other places as well where things are taken lightly. But yeah, to answer your question, that's how I help people. So it was a very long answer. Sorry.
I like how you said that you help people uncover their gifts. So everybody has gifts. It's not just these certain few chosen people that are gifted.
I love this question so much. Yes, everybody has the potential. So here's the difference. You have the same potential. The people watching have the same potential as me and the people that you watch on stage. The difference is, where does your passion lie? What have you chosen to come here to do? So we all have this divine innate potential to intuit, to channel, to heal and do Reiki, to um use telekinesis. Like, we can all do all these things. It's not definitely not special to a few people. I really reject specialization and terminology that puts you on a pedestal with your peers. And I make it very clear in what I do that you also have the same potential and ability to do what I am doing. I am just showing you how to access that, actually, because it is within you. So it's a very important topic that you bring up here. And again, it's a responsibility for us to share that information. And if we're looking big picture of evolution, we all want to evolve, right? If we're looking bigger picture evolution, the way to get there is self-empowerment and sovereignty, and showing and teaching other people that they can access these things too. That's how we're going to evolve. It's not by keeping these codependent healing uh healing client relationships. It's keeping people in these cycles where they're constantly looking outside for answers instead of going within. So yeah, it's very important what you just mentioned there. And yeah, again, I make it very clear that whatever I can do, you can do also. Yeah, I just think, I mean, there's always a lot to say. I could always have 3 or 4 hours of these conversations. But yeah, I think for people, it's just important to really look for information yourself. If you see information that resonates with you, go on your own path of study and uncover that information and cross-check it in as many ways as you can. Build that discernment muscle, build your intuitive muscle. This is really important, whether you want to use it in a healing capacity or not. Intuition is really important moving through this time, because we are bombarded with information and things that will take us away from ourselves if we're not careful. And some of this happened in ancient civilizations such as Atlantis. So we need to learn from that and know that uh, we have to be spiritually mature to move through this time of technology and AI, which I don't think is bad. I think how we use it could be bad, but it's just that in itself is not bad. So yeah, just really going to work in knowing the self. And yeah, that's my main message, is just to really look within and spend the time doing so. Make it a priority, because yeah, it may be hard at the start to look at certain things. And this is one of the other things, is being radically honest with yourself with the distortions that you may see within, or the things that you have done in the past or doing currently that you're not proud of. No one needs to know about it. You can write it in a journal and close it up and just choose differently tomorrow. But we do need to be honest with ourselves with the way that we're moving through the world. Is this for the greater good of humanity? What I'm choosing now, does this serve the evolution? So yeah, I'll leave it there so I could go on forever. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it. You have so much beauty in your words, and you can tell that you're very passionate about helping people. So I just want to thank you so much for everything that you do and contributing to the rising of the consciousness and the healing of individuals on the planet. Thank you. And
Thank you.
if my audience wanted to find you, they had questions for you, or they need some healing, they want to learn who they are, how can
Mhm.
they find you?
Yep. So I am on, they can reach me via email and through my website. So will you list it in the description?
Yes, in the
Yep.
video description down below, I'll put some links.
Perfect. So website, email, and I'm on YouTube as well. So I've dropped the other platforms. I've had a funny relationship with them over the years. Just figuring out where my audience is to share the messages that I need to share. And I've found YouTube is the place for me just recently. And I love this community. People are so engaged and they're here to really sit with information and messages, which I found that on the other platforms it's quite fast paced and I was having to edit myself. So, yeah, to answer your question, YouTube, website, and email.
Natasha, this was a blessing for me. I appreciate you so much. You're a beautiful soul, and I love what you're doing. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing the light as well and doing the work that you do. You are also a healer, so it's making a lot of change, and I honor that in you. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.